We're going to do a head-to-head, toe-to-toe comparison, shootout, battle thing, and see which one of these is worth your money. We'll do 15 categories and award a point to the winner of each one. And we'll listen to some tone comparisons throughout. Should be fun. Let's get to it. We'll start at the top and work our way down. So number 1, headstock. The Fender, believe it or not, has a Fender headstock. Yeah, so this is the most iconic design, legendary, that we all know and love. How could you argue with that? Who argues with headstocks? Not me. Not for ages. In comparison, the Jet has a Jet headstock. It works. It's not the same as the Fender. Obviously, there's a lot of S-type guitars that have weird takes on a Fender Strat headstock. I don't mind the Jet one, but it's an obvious point to the iconic headstock of the Fender Strat. First point goes to Fender. Number 2, tuners. Starting with the Jet, we've got 6 standard tuners. Now, on earlier runs of the Jets, the tuners were a bit of a weak point, whereas now I think they've maybe changed supplier or something, because these ones are a lot better, they turn a lot more smoothly. Ones that I tried in the past were a bit more grindy and sticky and making pingy noises and things like that. These ones seem to be a lot better, so yeah, standard tuners. With the Fender, one of the changes that they had on the Player 2 series over the Player 1 series is they've now got these vintage split shaft tuners, which is quite a big improvement. These are great tuners. They're almost as good as lock-in tuners. So that's a definite second point to Fender. Well done. Number 3, string trees. Now, I'd love to give them both 0 points each for this one, because they've both got like the worst string trees you could get. It's like the vintage butterfly style. They're not very good. With the Jet, at least they've included this little spacer riser thing, which helps to improve the break angle. So that's expected at a guitar at this price, sub £200. With the Fender, not only does it include pretty much the worst string tree you can get, it doesn't even have the little spacer, which is pretty much embarrassing when you compare it to the lowly Jet over there. So yeah, for the biggest guitar brand in the world, at their sort of entry point Fender, you would expect a better quality string tree for that price, I think. So, this time, point goes to Jet. Number 4. Nuts. The Jet has a bone nut, and in my experience of playing quite a lot of Jets, like over a dozen Jets I think I've had, the nuts have all been cut perfectly. Not everybody has the same experience, but in my experience they've all been cut really well. Personally, I'm not a fan of bone as a nut material. I would rather we used Graphtec Tusk XL, but there you go. In comparison, the Fender nut is synthetic bone, which is fancy plastic. Look it up, melamine or something like that. It's fancy plastic. So not only would a lot of people argue that bone is probably a more premium material for a nut than fancy plastic, this particular Fender has a problem with the nut. It is not cut well. The slot for the 3rd string appears to be cut just a little bit closer to the 4th string than it should be, and it's causing the string to bind in the nut. Check this out. So that's a bit disappointing. And another easy point for the Jet. Number 5, and probably the most important, necks. We've got 22 frets on both, 9.5 inch radius, modern C-shape. They've both got dual action truss rods. We've got a maple neck on the Fender and a Canadian roasted maple neck on the Jet. Okay, so most importantly, in terms of feel, these are pretty much identical. So if you check out on the screen now, you can see that I've compared the Player Strat, the Jet Strat, and even a USA standard Strat. Here it is on the 1st fret, and then here it is on the 12th. Look pretty much the same to me, and they feel the same too. On the Fender, if you had the maple variation of this, you would have glossed urethane on the headstock, like what we have on the Rosewood, but you would also have it on the front of the fretboard, and we've got satin urethane on the back, which feels silky smooth.
Silky and smooth!
On the Jet, we've got satin urethane all over, on the back, headstock and the front of the fretboard. And on the fretboard, feels a lot better, doesn't stick or anything like that. So for the neck, for the Jet being Canadian roasted maple and satin urethane all over, I'm going to give the point to the Jet. By the way, if you disagree with any of these points, please do let me know in the comments. Number 6, fretboards and frets. Now the fretwork and the fret edges on these two particular examples are pretty much identical. I've been impressed with the Fender because some Fenders I've had more recently have had really poor fretwork, but that seems to be improved here. I should also add that pretty much all the Jet guitar models come with slightly rolled fretboard edges, and they don't even advertise that on their site. They've always came like that. Whereas with the Fender Player series, the original Player series, were not rolled and they weren't as good as the Jet. I've done a previous comparison video on the HSS Strat and the Jet JS300. You could check it out there. And in that case, the rolled edges on the Jet won it. But now that the Fender Player 2 has an upgrade of rolled fretboard edges, this is bringing them a lot closer together. But they're still slight. They're not like massively rolled and comfortable. They're both pretty equal. So this is a tricky one. With the Jet JS300, we only have one fretboard option, and that's roasted maple. But it's a really nice roasted maple. There's a newer released series called the Jet JS300, which has a rosewood fretboard, but it's a little bit more expensive. When it comes to the Fender Player, we've got two options, standard maple or rosewood. And on the Player 1 series, that used to be Pau Ferro. So rosewood is an upgrade if you like that sort of thing. Personally, I'm not a fan of rosewood. I'm tempted to give the point to Jet because Canadian roasted maple is just so much more premium than maple with maple or maple and rosewood. But with the lack of a rosewood option, then maybe we should give the point to Fender. But what we're going to do is, let's make it a tie. 1 point each. Number 7, neck heel joint. So with the Player 2, we've got the standard squared off heel block. Meh. And with the Jet JS300, we've got the same. Although we do have this extra little carve out contour here at the back, which some people may argue is useless, some people might argue is useful. So at least there's a bit of effort there. I'm tempted to give the point to the Jet, but let's call it another tie. Point each. But what I should point out is if you go an extra £20 and opt for the Jet JS300, you're going to get this nice, beautiful, rounded, sculpted, contoured heel joint. It's beautiful. Worth a look.
Number 8.
Body material. On the Fender, we've got the more traditionally accepted alder, which is pretty standard for Fender stuff. And on the Jet, we've got basswood. So, tone wood, I suppose. Feel free to argue about that in the comments. Have fun. But I think we're going to have to give the point to the Fender because alder and tradition. Hey, if you're enjoying the video so far, please do consider hitting the old like button. Apparently that helps the video or the channel or my ego or something like that, but I don't know what it helps. All the other YouTubers say hit like, so I'm just asking you. If you're not too busy, hit the wee like button. Thank you. Okay, let's get back to it. Number 9, contouring. The Fender, the original contour body. We've got our forearm carve, tummy cut. Yeah, just a super comfortable guitar, isn't it? Good on you, Fender. You got it right back in '54 or whenever it was. And every Strat like since then has followed suit, including the Jet. So we've got the same forearm contour, we've got the same tummy cut, but we've also got this little scoop out of the lower horn. You could argue whether that's any better for upper fret access. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. Probably not. But I'm going to give the Jet the point just for extra effort and a wee bit more innovation. Point to Jet. Number 10, pickguards and plastics. Now another one of the upgrades to the Player 2 series is aged plastics on the pickup covers and the knobs, which don't match the pickguards. Kind of bothers me a lot. But anyway, they're calling that an upgrade. That is what it is. If you like that sort of thing, great. And if you don't like that, you can always change it, because pretty much every third-party design is based on the Fender design. So there's a billion options. Okay, maybe slightly less than a billion, but there's a lot of options for different pickguards and plastics that you can use, which are all compatible with the traditional Fender Strat. When it comes to the Jet, they do a bit of a similar thing sometimes, where the knobs and plastics don't match. I've never been a fan of many of the pickguard choices that Jet makes, but the problem is if you want to change them, third-party guards are not drop-in replacements. So you would need to re-drill and fill holes for the screws, and you might have to do a little bit of shaping elsewhere. I know that a lot of people have commented on previous videos that they've changed their pickguards with success for Fender pickguards on a Jet, so good on you. But for me, it's not going to be a perfect match, like these curves and things. But anyway, Fender gets this point because you could change up your pickguard and plastics pretty easily if you want to. Pretty much everything's a drop-in replacement. Number 11, pickups. As you can see, we're pretty much identical here in terms of layout. That's one of the reasons we're doing this comparison. So the Fender has got the Alnico 5 Player Series pickups, which are absolutely incredible in my opinion. The Jet has 3 single coils again, ceramics, and they actually sound pretty good for ceramic pickups. They're a bit hotter and more aggressive than the Player Series pickups, but not too bad. Both guitars' middle pickups are RWRP, so you'll get your hum cancelling on positions 2 and 4. This is a really easy point for the Fender, because these pickups just sound so good, in my opinion. Number 12, the switching and controls. So as we just mentioned, they both have 3 single coils, with the middle coil being RWRP, hum cancelling on positions 2 and 4. Got a 5-way switch on both, and the second tone control is wired to the bridge pickup on both, so you can tame down them highs on the bridge single coil if you want to. This one's another tie, point each. Number 13, the bridge, Trem, vibrato. Okay, so this is a hard one because both of them have slight issues. This Trem, it might be brilliant. Who knows? Because as we mentioned before, we've got all these problems down at the other end of the neck with the nut and the string tree that this is pretty much unusable. Other than that, if everything up there was fine and we could use it, we've still got a screw-in Trem arm, which is a bit old-fashioned in my opinion, as opposed to the Jet Trem, which has a push-in arm. Job done. But even although everything's good down this end with the nut, this one has a little bit of an issue with the saddles. So instead of through the centre of the saddle there being a channel string guide for the string to sit through down the centre, instead it's got a little bit of a hump, which is the opposite and not ideal. So what happens is the string ends up sitting at either side of the saddle beside one of the screws, and at its most extreme you could have 2 strings beside each other at opposite sides, which is going to throw off your string spacing. Not ideal. Or if you're the type of player that picks really hard, you could end up moving that string in and out of position, which is going to throw off your tuning. So that's not ideal either. So how do we score this? We've got a screw-in Trem, which is probably okay, but doesn't work because of this end. And then we've got a Jet with a not great saddles, everything works down that end, but a push-in Trem arm. Bit of progress there. I'm going to say tie again, because they both have issues. Number 14, resale value. Well, common wisdom would suggest that you're going to get more money back from a Fender. It's a better investment. Is it? I don't know if it is. Let me know what you think in the comments. Of course, the Jet, less known name, you're not going to get as much on resale from it, or are you? What about percentage wise? But if resale is the kind of thing that's important to you, then maybe Fender wins this point. Let's just give it to Fender. Number 15, maybe the most important, price. Okay, with the Fender Player 2, the recommended pricing from Fender is £739. If I looked at some more places, it looks like £685 is about right. But the Jet JS300 is going to cost you a mere £160 or thereabouts. And in my opinion, with how closely spec'd these two are, I think it's worth it. Is it worth it to pay more for the Fender name than the Jet that pretty much does the same? I mean, yeah, the pickups do sound way better on the Fender, in my opinion, but the Jet just feels so good, and it still sounds good. Which one would you pick? Let me know in the comments. But for me, I'm giving the point to the Jet. Value for money, it's just well worth it. Why would you spend however much it's going to cost for a Player 2 for something with a dodgy nut? Nah. Okay, so overall, who won? Here's the score. I actually have no idea because I've not been paying attention and keeping count, but the winner is...
We go to the judges' scorecards for a decision.
What are the scores George does?
There you go. Were you surprised? I don't know. I think the surprising thing is how close these two are. Well, for me anyway. But the real winner is you and me, because we've got options. If you really need to get that Fender brand name on the end of your guitar, then you can have it a not too bad price these days. In fact, going by some of these sales prices, yeah. But if you also don't have that kind of money to spend and you want to get close, the Jet gets you way closer than most other copies that I've tried. Copies, you know, Harley Benton's, E-Arts, Squire even. I'd say the Jet's closer to the Fender than a Squire is. Controversial, hot take. What do you think? And at this point, I want to give a massive shout out to Kenny's Music for loaning me the guitars. You can get your Fender Player Series guitars from Kenny's, and you can also get some other brands that I like. And they've now got a growing selection of used gear, so check them out. Links in the description. Okay, well, if that was enjoyable, please consider subscribing to the channel. What happens here on this here channel is we've got a little bit of a weekly format. On a Wednesday, we do a community post poll, which is something you can vote on. It'll be something guitar related. We'll be talking about maybe Strats or Jets or Fenders, amps, could be anything. And then on Thursdays, 7:30 PM UK, we do a live stream called Hammering On About, and then the topic will be related to what the poll was the day before. So we'll basically discuss the poll results, and we'll have a wee blether, and we'll hang out, and it's fun. It's maybe fun. So you might enjoy that. And then on Fridays, 6 PM UK, is the normal weekly uploads, which I try to relate to the live stream and community poll post, if it works. Depends on what's happening. Anyway, thanks for watching. Until next time, see you later.